Ever wondered what a chosen family is and how it's different from your biological one? And why does having a chosen family matter so much, especially for the queer community during Christmas? Well, today we are exploring these questions with the cast of A Day in a Manger, a really fun Christmas show that I saw at the Camden People's Theatre, also part of my 5 top shows to see in December in London. Well, now you can watch it online. It features amazing queer artists, from drag kings to poets and pole dancers. I sat down with them to chat about the show, and you can catch it all in my interview. Take a look. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to People of Theatre. I'm in the Camden People Theatre today with the amazing cast and creators behind A Day in a Manger. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Oh my god, the show is very moving. It's a Christmas show, but it's a very different Christmas show. Who wants to tell me a little bit more about the show and how it came about? Maybe Frankie.
Originally, this show was meant to be a kind of written Christmas show where it was like a pantomime or a nativity and a queering of that. But we were rejected from Arts Council three times round. And we were actually really grateful for that because it meant that with CBT's incredible support, we were able to offer commissions out to 4 incredible artists, making work about what it's like to be a performer right now, a queer performer right now, especially at Christmas. And what we sort of were hoping to offer in the show is a space to talk about and deconstruct the elitism of performance that happens within lots of different performative spaces. And actually say performance happens at all times in all spaces and is this vital thing that we have to recognise. And I think that what we really wanted was for people to be able to come and see the work that was being performed in there and go, this was made in 2 weeks on this budget in a wardrobe. Imagine what they could do if they had this enormous time, space and budget behind them.
I would say you're all here. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and say how you got involved with the show? Who wants to start?
Hello, I am the creative producer of Wardrobe and Sons, so me and Frankie are a cheeky little partnership.
Hello, I'm Len Blanco, slash Len Gwyn, who I am at any point. Anyone's guess? Anyone's gay. And that's mostly what my piece is about. I'm a drag performer and actor and theatre maker.
My name is Anomaly. I'm a pole artist. I've been dancing for a year. And my work is kind of a mishmash between music, verbatim recordings, and pole dance. And I spin around the intersections of race, gender, pleasure, and difference.
That was good.
So good.
I've got to follow that.
Yes.
My name is Danielle James, and I am an actress and a playwright. I make work that is about a variety of different things: the district line, baked beans, balloons, snow, singing, wood, metal. And my piece for A Day in a Manger is about silence and breaking out of silence and into sound.
Chosen families is such a really, really important topic that you overlapped on topic of the show, I guess. Why do you think it was very important to talk about it now over Christmas?
I think that there is this expectation for a lot of queer people that Christmas has to be a time full of difficulty and sadness, which is true for a lot of people. But I think what I learned actually through this process is that chosen families help to recontextualize what Christmas can and should mean. Actually, what we're doing here is reflective of what happens in so many queer spaces and within queer friendship groups. You know, it is a little bit mishmash, it is a bit DIY, it is a bit, hobbled together in 2 weeks, but ultimately actually it is a beautiful process and a beautiful spirit that comes out of that, and it's just full of so much love.
How did you contribute from your personal experiences, maybe, or your idea of chosen families, your experience of chosen families, to the show?
My piece is it's kind of about my biological family in a lot of ways, and the process for me has been about interrogating how can I choose my biological family? How can I make my biological family my chosen family? Because I have such a rich queer family, especially in London, like my friendships and my relationships and who I've grown to be through knowing my queer friends has become such an important part of me. And I find it difficult to square who I've become with who I am when I go back home. And so my act is about, it's kind of about trying to build a bridge back to my family, my biological family, so that I can feel that sense of agency and that sense of self when I go home for Christmas.
So the brief that we received was looking at queerness as survival and or queerness as celebration. And initially I tried to choose between the two and realized that they were both an important conversation to have. I was curious about the relationship between the two. So my perspective is coming from a place of looking at what it means to find peace and peace in solitude and spending Christmas on your own. I spent many Christmases on my own for various reasons, being estranged from my family as a result of my queerness, but also I'm a care leaver as well. And so it's the perspective of people on the outside. It's like, oh, you poor thing. And it's actually been a really beautiful journey to be able to find peace in being alone and being comfortable with that. And so that's something I'd like to share with the audience, that like, you know, chosen family have been extremely imperative to me finding myself and expressing myself and feeling safe and feeling part of a community. And also I found a lot of peace and comfort in just spending time with myself.
What we're all trying to do is just trying to hold the joy, but also hold all the awful and the bad and the ugly bits that actually are really important to being queer and to being queer at Christmas.
There is this kind of language of campness that is wrapped up in Christmas, which is actually really alienating for queer people and doesn't actually feel for them. And this kind of pressure to parade a certain level of exactly that, of like, of queerness, whether it's pantomime dames, whether it's like, you know, and actually is very alienating and very far away from the experiences of queer people at Christmas. And I think that really, like, what we're trying to unlock is this kind of open space for performers to talk about the experience, for queer performers to talk about the experience of being queer and being performers at Christmas.
I also described it as like a queer send-off to other queer people during this time, you know, preparing to take that annual voyage to families, to code switching, to Christmas, and what that means in each individual family, and just being like just send off, just like, we see you.
So yeah, what about your act?
As Anomaly said, the brief was about performance as survival or performance as joy and queer performance, and what does that mean? And I come from an Irish Catholic background, and I spent 18 years of my life in the Catholic Church in a church choir. And for me, my identity grew and expanded, but was also diminished within that context. And for me, and for a lot of Irish Catholic people and Irish Catholic queer and trans people specifically, Christmas is a time of, you know, you go to mass maybe 3 or 4 times a week, at least that's my experience of it. You know, it was very intense. So for me, there was something about speaking about the Irish context of religion, and through something that I knew at Christmas time was singing, and was that aspect of religion and faith that still is really important to me, even though I don't have a faith, I don't practice religion, but that aspect of it was still really important to me. And I think the way that I wanted to approach sound and silence, and actually trying to find 2 things that, for me as a trans woman, I was like, what are 2 things that are so diametrically opposed, like me and the church? And for me, that was the only way that I could really articulate that properly, was through sound and silence. And I think that for queer people, there is this idea of sound and silence, that Christmas is a loud, overstimulating, overwhelming time, and that actually sometimes embracing this kind of silence is actually really maybe not beautiful, but it is something familiar and something comforting. I wanted to explore what it felt like to know that silence is as valuable once it's recontextualized, moving from a oppressive heft of a bell silence to a more relaxing, intimate, self-preservationless silence.
How about the wardrobe? The set is amazing. The wardrobe It's a very interesting piece of style. She, her. Who's going to tell me a little bit more about the wardrobe?
I'm the wardrobe. Pronouns she, her. Was it she, they?
She's fluid.
Expansive.
She's fluid.
I'm fluid.
Like she, go on, yeah.
No, that was it. I mean, if I do that for too long, it will ruin my voice. But I was lucky enough to be the voice of the wardrobe in this particular incarnation, and I guess she represents like different things for different people in their acts. For me, it's the kind of portal to the realm of the family home. I spent a little while thinking about her as maybe being like the cold upstairs toilet that I go to just cool off after like an argument in the kitchen over the turkey and the oven's heating the room up and it's all so like she's kind of been different spaces in my mind in relation to my act.
And I think that the wardrobe is ultimately a piss take and ultimately a wardrobe.
And an excuse.
And an excuse. It's an excuse for people to have a stage to perform on. And what we really want is for people to be able to understand that they don't need the wardrobe. They can find a wardrobe, their wardrobe, a closet, a cupboard,
A pair of glasses.
a pair of glasses, announce that they're the artistic director of it, and then program their season of work starring them. That's what I've done.
Kind of like making space for the artists that aren't allowed in those spaces. And the wardrobe is the only West End theatre not in the West End.
I think as well that like so much of like actually exploding the idea of it being like it's the wardrobe and it just being a cupboard actually means that we have to think about the process in a much different way. Like sometimes things are just what they are, and I think when there is this expectation of queer people to be making like revolutionary, flag-waving, radical work that is outwardly radical. And I think what I found is that the process that I have been happily forced into with wardrobe is that actually it's okay to just make work that is just about very banal things that suddenly become very radical, and that it's okay to just, just sing in a cupboard, or it's okay to, lie in a cupboard with a duvet, or it's okay to be in the wardrobe and then come straight out of it again. And it's actually okay to make work about being queer that's just it's about just being.
And I think it's also about reclaiming the closet. There's something really beautiful about being in a really beautiful looking closet, which is a metaphor for a space that you're not allowed in anyway. Yeah. And I think when you actually get in there and shut the doors, it is quite
nice.
Yeah. It's just kind of knowing that actually, in spaces that actually look like this kind of work, and us aren't welcome in it.
Guys, thank you very much for this. Enjoy the rest of the run.
Thank you.